I want to show some special scraps I have. These kind of came out in a funny little shape like this. I don't remember exactly what I was sawing out when the scraps sort of ended up coming out in this shape, but it did kind of just come to a certain idea where when they came out like this, just kind of decided to think for a while, what would I carve from them? And just had little thoughts, little ideas come my way here and there once in a while, moments here and there. So it just comes down to the point where I've got plenty of knives here. I think I'm going to sharpen up one or two. And there were ideas I had, like maybe even make little gourds from these, but didn't think that gourds would appeal to that many people. But there was another thought that came up. Now, whenever I was carving that random scrap nativity in a previous playlist and videos, a couple things I decided to leave out would be the cow and the donkey, or the ox and the donkey, or whatever, because it just so happened that, the scraps I had that were shaped for those things, such as one of the wise men is already made from walnut, and the shepherd is already made from guanacosti, and the pieces I have that were going to eventually be donkeys are guanacosti, while these ones are walnut. And I thought at first, when I saw these would be good for making the little cow or the little ox or bull to the nativity set, but I decided that rather than include it in the nativity set, I'd just make a couple little oxes out of these, just to kind of be a little random thing to kind of be sold as a cow by itself. So I decide put a little work along into this, make it so we kind of get them to come out in a good enough way, and you'll just see how this comes down to where there's a little place I'm cutting along here to make this little place where the little bull is kind of having a little face to come out this way. And I say that this is going to be just another little tiny bit of work to kind of come its own way along and make it so we see how this shall come out to turn out in the very end when we get the work done into the little head here. I will say there were kind of little errors that came here. Didn't mean for it to turn out diagonally in the front like it did, but since it did, there's little ways we can work about this to try to make sure it comes out in a good and better way, and see how this is going to be to look when it all comes out so much better, so much nicer, so much faster. I say, this is just kind of some work we got in the little figure to make a little character of faith and value to us. And I say that perhaps we're getting a good head in here, a good face for a mighty bull or a mighty ox or a mighty cow, whatever we say it's going to be, and kind of work our way along. And I don't even know whether it could be that maybe this is not the best pattern in the grain of the wood, but what I'm thankful for is that I am finally getting to use these scraps. always wanted to have something to use them for. So this is just probably the work it can come out to be. To get it all done, to get it all worked in, I say this is just how we're making out the little head for the creature. And, you know, probably come down here, work along down here, and make the little round off for the little nose. I say, I say, I say, this is good little texture here. And with all we have, make it so little cattle can come out here, make it so they make a way to us, and then kind of put a little life and energy into us. I say, sometimes, you know, cattle can kind of have little fears of people. I've heard if they don't know you, if you're strange to them, they'll kind of run from you. Even when I was a teenager, I went on some farms where I knew some cattle that were like that. If I approached them and they didn't know me, they'd kind of run, stampede away, run away, herd away. That's just kind of how I've learned from my experiences with farms that most cattle are. And with this little kind of work, I say that this is just what we know to be what things can for the best just come out to be. I tell you, be nice if to even make something like Babe the Blue Ox and put a little blue dye in a cow and make it like that. I say, you know, nobody other than Paul Bunyan ever had a blue ox. Even in the true story about him, he didn't really, but in the legend about him, he sure did. So I say now, let's try to carve little ears along here. Try to make it so the little cattle is going to have ears to come out, showing a little grace and deed to the little face of the cattle and the work we put in to the little buddy. Make the cow kind of look like it has some big ears, I say. Hopefully we can kind of get this so it looks like it's supposed to, and hopefully can really get some ears made in the background here. We know that this is just kind of the thing where our little work comes along, and of all things, I say, there's so much that we find these days, and I think about how when I was a teenage kid, I used to listen to a song on the radio called Santa Cow, and didn't know where it came from, but got a little older and looked it up on the internet, found on the internet the little album that it came off of, so I decided to kind of take that album, and I purchased it online, listened to it a little bit, had little messages to hear in it. I say, this is where we kind of got the little horn to come out of the top of its head, make the cow so it's going to be just a little horned up to be just what the little ox and cow ought to be when it arrives to the work of what it is, and kind of try to put the work in, make it like it ought to be, show how little grace and mercy just makes the work come out great. I say that this is just how we kind of work about this. I tell you, a good thing we were getting a good nose in here for a cow. That was quite the answer here to make it really look like one. And we finally got this much done in it. I think we're going to kind of try working a little better on the ears here, and then try to kind of see how the work is made without all the little extra work and extra character in it. And so this is just how we get it when it comes out right. So I decide, come along here, cut along these little ears and horns, make it so the cow is just on its own little thing. I say that this is just what one little character of a story shall make itself and us just come out to be. I say, little cow, see what you do. And I'd say this is probably going to come out to be a brown cow here, and which also just makes you think of old myths. I've even seen memes on Facebook where they say that some people think that chocolate milk really comes from brown cows. You know, could for all we know, but I think in reality, you know, you can just milk any kind of cow and just put chocolate in it. That's where chocolate milk really comes from, in my opinion. And I say we're going to go along here, kind of shave along the top, make the brow to the cow's head. I say make it so we kind of know what little cattle can be or do, and see how we kind of work along to make so we shall just see what this little thing is going to really come to be, and see how little cattle can shine in our world and make things go so possible for us. I think I've probably come pretty far along, and think that this is just kind of the work we get into a piece just to kind of make a cow come out just like it ought to be. Kind of get a little carving here down on the head, right under the ears. Kind of get a little more done on here along the back under the ears. And I say probably be needing a new glove sooner or later. I think I just gave myself a little cut there. And I say that this is just kind of how work is making its own way along to us. And so with little cows that milk and moo, I say it's just kind of how, like, I say, make it all come along here. See how cows are doing for us. Make it all seem like they're just making little ways for us. And it's a good thing here that I finally did do that. Finally did make out the head right below the ears. Think I might come on here sometime and maybe work on the other one as well. This is just some work that I see how it goes, see how it does. You can kind of enjoy it when you get the hang of it, and it'll kind of mean a lot to you then. But I tell you, so much I shared today in McLeod's. Funny little nasty stories. Probably some of the same stuff I've kind of shared on here before with you all. And so this comes down to where we get little places in, make the little cuts, and so kind of try to make a little good something of a cow. I tell you that there's going to be a moment when we might come back, do other little things in here. Maybe try to, I'd say, like, get a little super glue in and try to put this place underneath back in its place. I say, glue on cows. Little work. Less children. Less wives. I say, there were things that we had our creative abilities to do, and so many things I say, like this man on Instagram who I look at his taxidermy all the time and said to him, you know I have my own gifts too, but wish I could make stuffed animals like that. I say, he has a lot of good stuff. I can't afford to buy it all. It'd all just be a little too expensive to get. So sometimes, some of us, we just have to make what we can. But I'd say I probably got plenty of stuff from Etsy and where else, so that was what's worked out for me. Finally got a little more put in to the face. See how the nose has turned out. That's how I come along so far. And this is just one thing I see. Big fat brown cow. Moo moo brown cow, have you any milk? Just a little thing that Raffi sang off of Baba Black Sheep. Don't kind of, and I think there was a cluck cluck, little hen, have you any eggs? Little stories like that he sang. They all just kind of said nice little things to us, and you know, those were his little versions he added to Baba Black Sheep, and so it was just one way we listened to him when we were kids. Kind of had a lot of good things to say and sing in his songs. I say, just had a lot we know, a lot we learn. Think I've probably got the horns right in the place where they ought to be, and then kind of work our way down, make little places in the top of the head where we see what this is gonna end up, moreover, in the end, turning out to be. I say, this little cow is wonderful. He kind of does his little ways. God. And so, make the way it all shows out. this is a cow in the cluck. I say little places we put in here to kind of dimensionalize the horns a little bit, make it so cattle see, cattle do. I say bright little work it makes, and perhaps just removing a little bit off the last bit of the horn. Think there's going to be other work we're going to come on here and do later, but I'd say yes, for now this is probably as far as we're going to go with this kit. As far as this time around is concerned, that's where we are with this video. I say we might even come back another time, maybe carve some horns in a head and the other, but let it all kind of come its own way and at its own time, because a lot of work is involved in that. There's a lot to say and a lot to do. I tell you that as of now, I think I might be turning things off here, kind of let this little video upload and maybe come on and do the next a little later. Thank you for watching, and take care.